back at it again, and as you guys have probably heard, and if you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw me actually reply to one of Dan Crenshaw's tweets, and you know, I didn't go crazy. You know, I was respectful. I didn't say anything over the top, but Dan Crenshaw has completely misread the room when it came to the McCarthy as Speaker of the House whole situation that was going down. And of course, the left was like, oh my goodness, these Democrats, they can't get it right. There's blah, 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 blah. And you know, all these folks on the left and guys like Dan Crenshaw, you know, we're criticizing the 20 that we're holding out. And Dan Crenshaw even went as far as calling them terrorists, which is just like, what? Like, this is what democracy is. Like, all of these other folks that were panicking, and this is the great thing about what happened with the Speaker of the House vote. It exposed a lot of people. And I think Dan Crenshaw is one of those people that got exposed throughout that whole thing. All these people talking about democracy, didn't want democracy when it came to the Speaker of the House. They just wanted everybody to be to fall in line. They wanted the dictatorship. Interesting. But I got a few videos that I want to jump into with you guys and discuss them. But like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and let's jump right on into this first clip of Dan Crenshaw. Check it out.
Who are you hearing these renegade Republicans want to nominate, essentially, as Speaker? Who's their person?
They don't have one.
That's
a great question. There's no plan.
Right.
That's a great question. They keep acting like, you know, they keep acting like they've got somebody in the wings. They're just waiting. You'll see on the day of, right?
There's some of them that we should all be standing up for. Byron's missing out of this crew. And where's Lauren Bobart's missing out of this as well. But these are some of the good guys. Right there.
They keep saying that. They're like children. This is such a childish attempt at gaining more and more attention. You know why they say it like that? Because they want you to interview them again. That's why they're doing it. Please interview. You'll see if you just put me on TV just one more time, please. Then I'll tell you who we're going to go for. But here's the thing.
You see what he just said? Oh, just put me on TV one more. Okay, yes, they should be put on TV. They should be put on TV all day, every day, the same way the Democrats are. But of course, Dan, you don't see it that way. And that's why a lot of us voters wanted different leadership, because it's the same old thing, that same old mindset, criticizing them for allegedly wanting to be on TV more. And what is wrong with that? Can anybody tell me what is wrong with Republicans wanting to be in people's face more? Democrats do it all day long, all day, every day. Every chance that they get, they're in front of a camera. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm wrong. Y'all let me know in the comment section, but this is why a lot of folks wanted different leadership.
Got nobody. Even if they did, I promise you, there's a ton of Republicans who will not vote for them. They will not vote for anyone except Kevin McCarthy. Because here's the thing. And
that is a problem too. He just admitted it himself. But hey, who am I? I'm just a nobody, all right? You know, don't let me sway you.
This is a general election. All right, we had our primary election, and Kevin McCarthy won with 85% of the vote. That's a primary election. Now we're in the general election. So if you're not voting for our GOP nominee, you are voting for Democrats.
Lie.
You are enabling Democrats. Yep. And let's make something very clear. You know who is technically the Speaker of the House if Kevin isn't sworn in? It is a clerk who is appointed by Nancy Pelosi. So the only person you're empowering are the Democrats. The Democrats are cheering. The Democrats are so happy that this is all happening because these guys and these girls wanted to make this happen. They wanted so much notoriety. Their own sense of self-aggrandizement is so important to them that they
Doesn't Dan sound like a Democrat himself? Was that just me? Or did I feel, or did it feel like we were listening to a leftist right there? Y'all let me know in the comment section, please. Let me know. But I've got another video of Dan Crenshaw on CNN. And remember, he was just criticizing those guys and gals for wanting to be on TV. And guess who was on CNN?
Congressman Dan Crenshaw joins me now. Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Let's take a listen to what Speaker McCarthy had to say about the path forward for House Republicans after he was elected early Saturday morning.
And I think by having the disruption now, really built the trust with one another and learned how to work together.
Was that your takeaway, that it really built the trust with one another and learned how to work together?
I actually do agree with that.
You do?
More than I disagree with it. You opened up with the whole terrorist comments. I do have to address that.
Please.
Right? Look, things get heated and things get said. Obviously, to the people who took offense by that, it's pretty obvious that it's meant as a turn of phrase in the.
It's a metaphor.
It's in the context of intransient negotiations. I've got pretty thick skin. I'm called awful, vile things by.
Nah, he was serious when he said that. Like he meant it. He meant it. He hated those 20. Don't walk it back now. Stand on your words. Stand on them. You said them. I'm just saying. He said them words with conviction.
Kind of the very same wing of the party that I'm fighting. I was fighting at that moment, so I was a little taken aback by the
sensitivity.
Yeah, by the sensitivity of it. But to the extent that I had colleagues that were offended by it, I sincerely apologize to them. I don't want them to think I actually believe they're terrorists. It's clearly a turn of phrase that you use in what is an intransient negotiation. It's important to know the reason that the 200 were.
So out of all, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Out of all the things you could have called the 20, that's the word you picked. That's the one you chose. What does that sound like to you all? Does that not sound like something a Democrat would say? Those MAGA Republicans, those Freedom Caucus Republicans, which aren't MAGA Republicans, they're all Democrats. They're terrorists. I said Democrats. Goodness gracious. Yeah, Democrats are terrorists. I had that right. Freudian slip there. Wow. But didn't that sound like something a Democrat would say? It's quite interesting. Dan Crenshaw is sounding, mighty similar to a Democrat out here in these streets, man. It's quite interesting to hear. But not only was he criticized there, but Dave Rubin heard what he said and had some things to say about it. And let's check this out as well.
Real quick, let me show you the counterpoint on this. So Dan Crenshaw, who's also from Texas, which is interesting because obviously Chip Roy is a congressman from Texas as well. Here's Crenshaw giving the opposing point on sort of why you should go with McCarthy.
We all served in different ways, but we mostly served for the same reason, so that we would take the fight to the enemy, and the enemy would no longer take the fight to the American people. We had purpose, we had mission. That was our mission. We have mission up here. Some people have different priorities. Some people want to cut spending. Some people want to fix our mandatory spending problems. Some of us want to fix the border, deal with the Mexican drug cartels that are murdering tens of thousands of Americans a year by poisoning them with fentanyl. There's a lot of missions that we have up here. I don't think that the American people care about any of these so-called missions happening this week. Rules changes, who gets more power, who gets on what committee. I can't think of one American who gives a damn about any of that. They care about the mission. And the concern.
Hold on. Before he gets too deep. Did he not read the room correctly? Do y'all not care about who's on these committees? Because I sure do. I don't want a bunch of leftists, bunch of rhinos on these committees who don't actually do anything. I want these Freedom Caucus members, these MAGA Republicans, because that's become like a term that's meant to be bad. I want MAGA Republicans on these committees. I want MAGA Republicans dibbling and dabbling in everything. Everything. Because those are the only people that I trust at this point. I don't trust people like Dan Crenshaw. I don't trust people like McCarthy. Even though Donald Trump backed him, I don't care. Donald Trump isn't perfect in who he chooses to, put forth or put his name behind. We've seen that. I still like him as president, but it doesn't mean I have to follow his every single step. I am my own man. I think for myself. Okay. I'm not completely bought into the whole McCarthy thing. Just not. So yes, I want a lot of rules changes. I do want to make sure if McCarthy veers off the path towards the left, we can get him out of there ASAP. I do want that 1 vote instead of 5. Dan clearly, and this is what I mean, clearly is not reading the room. He said he doesn't know one American. I guarantee you there's at least 5 of you right now commenting, yes, I agree. Because we've talked about it before and you all agreed. So where's he getting this information from is my question. Where? Goodness gracious. He must live under a rock or something. Or just doesn't care at all and is truly a rhino, a swamp creature in disguise. But what do y'all think? Maybe I'm wrong. Talk to me.
Conservative agenda is one that will accomplish, and the conservative agenda is one that will accomplish the mission for the American people the best, but we can't start that agenda until we start governing. That's why we're up here, because we care about mission, we care about service, and we care about the American people, and we care about getting things done.
Carol, what do you think?
So, and that's another thing too. They were all crying about starting a week later than normal. Boo-hoo! The amount of days that these guys and gals take off, a week, is what you were complaining about? Hell, if it took 3 weeks to come up with the speaker, I don't care. You're complaining? Fake. Like I said, though, what do y'all think? Let me know.
Think about that take, that it's sort of like, suck it up, U20, like, we've got the majority, it'll be better than the other guys, let's just play through, something to that effect.
So I don't understand the idea that this is somehow embarrassing, that democracy is embarrassing. Like, oh, how embarrassing, not everybody agrees. And especially the left saying it to us, like, oh, how humiliating, you guys don't agree on everything. I hate all of that. That's like ridiculous to me. And what I think Crenshaw is wrong about here is that Americans do understand what is happening. Go to any conservative chat group on the internet. They know what is happening in Congress. They understand this battle. They really do. And yes, they want the bigger agenda passed, absolutely. But they want the people in charge who will be most accountable for passing that agenda. And look, there's so many personality-driven things here, like the fact that Trump supports Kevin McCarthy. That's so big in the background of this. Like, his supporters are like kind of not going along with what he wants. By his supporters, I mean Trump's. And they want somebody new. And they also want people held accountable for the losses that happened in this last election. And they want leadership change. And that's not crazy. That's not embarrassing. That's not humiliating. And that's okay that we all are arguing it out. I love, by the way, I should just add, love that John Cardillo is being called a rhino on Twitter. I find that
it's unbelievable. I'm a big squish rhino. I'm being called Dan Crenshaw light. That was one of my favorite. I can't even stand the guy.
So happy.
Well, that's not good. I need to know what he said.
That's actually hilarious. It's one thing if I get called a rhino, but Cardillo, like, something really ain't right.
The biggest dissonance, I mean, this is right up there with people saying, like, Cardillo, he doesn't go hard in the paint. You know, that's not a guy that really throws down on the right. I'm like, go back at his Twitter feed like a month and tell me who else is throwing the kind of punches that John. But anyway, put that aside for a second. Somehow there's just this carve out where it's fine for Donald Trump to push for McCarthy. And this is where I say to people, come on now. If we're going to do this thing where they're going to fillet people on Twitter about how they're squishes and they're fakes. And by the way, I haven't come. I'm a proud fence sitter on this issue. I'm like, look, I think there could be a better speaker. I think McCarthy would probably be more or less, maybe with some concessions. Okay. I don't really care. I actually think I agree with actually a lot of what Crenshaw said about how this doesn't really, I agree that it doesn't really matter. I don't think it's fair that people don't know what's going on, but I don't think it changes all that much. But the fact that Trump is able to come out in favor and basically tell everybody, we'll vote for McCarthy. And no one's saying, well, Trump is a Rhino squish, who's a big Trump supporter. I mean, that just goes to show you here that I think people...
He's got a little bit of a point there. But I think most people weren't calling Trump a Rhino because we've seen Trump's actions, right? A person can say one thing, but actions speak louder than words. We know the saying, actions speak louder than words. So his actions didn't match calling him, or don't match calling him a Rhino. So like I on one hand I get what he's saying, because we're like, no, like slow down on the whole McCarthy. Now obviously McCarthy is the Speaker of the House now, but in the moment we were all like, no, hold the reins. I was even saying hold the line. Let's get somebody else in there. And calling people like Dan Crenshaw Rhinos. But it wasn't only because they were pushing for McCarthy. It was some of the other stuff that they were doing as well. Like we saw Mike Rogers, I believe his name is, who was literally, seemed like he was about to fight Matt Gaetz. Like, really? Really? You're that angry? Like that just seems weird to me. Seems weird. Really, really weird. Like Matt Gaetz and the Freedom Caucus guys and gals were taking power away from Kevin McCarthy and putting it into the hands of all of the Republicans there and the American people. And you're angry about that? Like you're mad, like to the point where you want to put hands on Matt Gaetz. And let me tell you something, man, boy, I wish I was Matt Gaetz that day. Listen, I would have hit him with a 2-piece so fast. Boy, oh boy, he would have been asking for a biscuit. Where's my biscuit with my water? I ain't get my biscuit and my honey. He would have been so dazed and confused, man. He wouldn't have known what hit him. That two piece would have got to him so quick, man. Oh my goodness. Anyway. All seriousness, what do y'all think about this whole situation? Do you think guys like Dan Crenshaw are rhinos, or do you think it was just a spur of the moment kind of thing? Tempers flared, and people got a little angry. Let me know. I mean, it seemed like Dan Crenshaw was kind of walking back his statements on CNN. We didn't check out the full clip, but it seemed like he was walking back some of his statements on that whole situation. And yeah, what are your thoughts and your opinions on it? Let me know in the comment section below. Like, share, comment. Hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.